My name is Raju Patel, and I'm reporting from the London Business School Global Energy Summit 2014. And I have the pleasure to introduce Ann Christin, who is a director at FMC Technologies, which is a service company to the oil and gas sector. So welcome, Ann.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
So we have had very interesting panel discussions where you were a panelist today. And something that stuck out for me was the point around IOCs and NOCs are now looking at different ways to reduce cost and are trying to bring the cost of service companies down. And this issue is just going to be more exacerbated as they opportunistically try to ride on the lower oil prices trend that we see. So what's your response? Do you think oil service companies and service companies should be cutting prices, or is there a wider debate here?
Well, I think part of cutting prices is, of course, to reduce the cost. And I think the nuanced answer to your question is that cutting costs is about more than the one topic that is in the market today, which is all about standardization. Right. And I think what I want to nuance is how do you reduce cost in this industry? How do you actually bring the cost of a field development down? And first then I'd like to say that there are three components to the cost build-up in a subsea development. And typically to reduce cost by standardization, or really what you're trying to do is standardize to get more volume. I think the potential for cost reduction can be as high as 30%. Right. Then I would say there's some 15 to 20% that is in the way we operate, the way we have our work processes designed to collaborate. So that only builds up about 50% of the cost base. I think the real shift in cost reduction is really introducing new technology. And in an environment like now, when you have the oil price coming down and costs historically being growing, I think the debate on technology disruption is sort of left behind, and that concerns me. So when you're saying what does it take to bring the price down, I think it's more than a bidding process.
Right.
Today the operators are kind of rebidding the stuff to get the price down. I think it's more about how do we collaborate to focus on breakthrough technologies who can significantly reduce cost in your field development, and then try to focus on how do you trust each other to standardize across companies, across oil companies.
Just 2 points I'd like to pick up on, because you made two interesting points, one on standardization and one on technological innovation. On standardization, one of the points that was made today by someone in the audience was that we should be comparing someone like an FMC or a service company to sectors like the aeronautical sector, where there is standardization and where there's a couple of suppliers like Airbus and Boeing, and then they are able to specify components and really drive supply chain savings. How can the oil and gas industry standardize?
Well, the first point I would like to make is that you can't standardize on a product that is not yet optimal. So the key here is that you don't go too early trying to standardize a whole production system. So we need to, of course, pick components that you can gain volume and economies of scale from, and say a bolt. There's no need for a non-standard bolt. There's no need for a non-standard valve. But there may be reasons for why you don't have a standard tree that sits on a well yet.
Subsea tree.
Subsea tree. Because the subsea tree has not matured to the optimal design yet.
Okay.
So we have to be careful not to drive standardization on the wrong products. Okay. That's where my focus on technology is still valid.
Okay, so what you're saying is there's a balance between standardization and the level of maturity where we are at, and we have to get to a happy medium.
Well, yeah, at least be careful where you put in place the different mechanisms. Okay,
great. And the second point I wanted to pick up on was your point on technology as a driver to bring costs down and the overall total cost of ownership down. However, this debate has been going on for quite a long time in the oil and gas industry. And the key point here is, are oil and gas companies comfortable with technology being shared and who owns the intellectual property. Obviously FMC is an innovator and you are innovating in this space, and then IOCs are buying and using and helping design that technology. So, you know, what's your position on that?
No, I think you need to keep progressing and build the technology breakthrough as you go along, and learn and bring new technologies from other industries into this very conservative industry as well, so that you actually learn to adapt. Yeah. I think the debate we had earlier today about IP and stuff, I think as long as you keep progressing, I think we will leave the IP behind. There's some nuggets that you want to protect, but overall it's all about how you put everything together as a solution for the field development. On technology though, I would like to say one thing. It takes trust to pilot new technology. Yes. So the collaboration between the end customer and the supplier has to be a fruitful one, where you trust each other enough to actually implement the new technologies.
And how do you build that trust?
I think early involvement has been underutilized. Early involvement when you discover the reservoir first time and you actually do your field development together as an integrated team, you can get the best solutions and you can utilize the technologies without introducing too much risk.
So what you're really saying is adopting a strong partnership attitude and mentality,
I think so,
rather than us versus them and we are here to optimize our position.
Yeah. And that's what we do with our supply chain. Remember, FMC, our company, we buy a lot of stuff from our supply chain. Yes. And we need to grow some selected partners down in our value chain. Yes. And trust them with the business and the innovations going forward. It's the new way of operating.
Okay, great. I'm here with Ann Christin from FMC. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.